Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We are, of course, your multi-award winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast. We're back slightly. It's a nervous laugh. Forgive me, it's a nervous laugh. We're here. We've all got that look on our face, haven't we? Our Spurs in crisis. I'm talking to three well-oiled machines that are home season ticket holders. Lubo's home and away. Look what this club is doing to him. Look what this club is doing to him. We are joined by our wonderful top-tier panel here. Adam Osper's back, our residential financial analyst, who's analysing everything. Quite simply, we're joined by the wonderful Billie T, and Lubo rejoins us here on Last Word on Spurs as we try understand where we are under Thomas Frank in what was a third defeat in 7 days for the Dane. Look, Fulham game, the game was over really after we conceded twice in the opening 6 minutes. And I hate to say it, 3 defeats in a row, 4 losses in 6 in the league, only 3 wins in 13 matches. It is quite simply slipping into that word of crisis territory. And we are here to hold a bit of an emergency meeting to understand where everybody's at and what comes next. If you're with us for the first time, you can find us on iTunes. We are on Spotify, across all major audio platforms. We can ask you to keep liking, hyping, subscribing to the show. That would be greatly appreciated. Let's check in with the guys first to see how everyone is about Tottenham. That's a pretty stupid question, isn't it? Lubes, let's open with you. Tottenham, suffering our 10th home defeat of 2025 at the weekend. We're now their joint most home league defeats in a single calendar year in the club's history, which was 10 also in 94 and a 2003 season. Just 3 home wins in 2025. Before we come on to Frank, how do you feel as a Spurs fan at the moment?
It's not good, is it? It's not good. I just think the squad's not great. We've had 10 years of bad transfer windows, and Frank's being left to sort the mess out. So is he the answer? I don't know. He's got to grow into the job as well. This is a much bigger job than anything he's ever had. But what a poor set of players he's got. And I think we've got to stop, me as well, deluding ourselves that this is a top 6 squad. It's really not. It's 10th, 12th at best at the moment. We've been beaten this season at home 4 times already. We've lost to Bournemouth. We've lost to Fulham. We nearly lost to Wolves. I mean, this is Tottenham Hotspur. What are we doing with losing and nearly losing to these clubs? It's okay. Bournemouth. Bournemouth, could have won by 5 that day. Villa, okay, I thought we played well and we probably deserved to get something out of that game. And we only lost to 2 worldies. But the squad's not good enough. It really isn't. And the first team's missing several players. We've got no 8, no 9 at the moment, no 10 and no 11. And I think if anybody just wants to get some perspective on how poor this squad is, go back 8 years to Poch's team that finished second that season in the last year at the Lane. With Lloris, Walker, Toby, Yan, Danny Rose, Dembele, Wanyama, Dele, Son, Ericsson and Kane. I mean, how far off that team are we? Seriously. We could have been 4 down to Fulham yesterday. They had the effort off the post. You had the brilliant tackle by Van der Ven when Porro let the guy through. It's horrendous. So let's sort of get real a little bit. Frank has got a lot of work to do. Let's not panic. I hope they don't panic. Otherwise, how long, this will be another manager that's gone. Spurs have got a history since ENIC took over of getting shot of managers very quickly. So when a new manager stroke coach comes in, he's got several players from several different squads, from different managers with different player profile requirements, with different styles. So I don't know how, and each coach is meant to put something together very, very quickly. Frank's been there 4 months. What do we expect Spurs to be at? A top 3 team already? Yes, it's poor. Yes, we lack an identity. And Frank has got to get that sorted quickly. Or I do fear the fans will be really on his back and what do boards do when fans turn on managers? They look out for themselves and they get rid of the manager. But if we carry on killing projects quickly, we are never going to succeed. And someone asked me on Twitter, how do you get there? How do you get to a situation where a project can come to fruition? And my answer was, you give the manager enough time to work on it. 3-4 months first time, we've had a bad run of results, 2 wins, 2 draws in 10. And we say, okay, fine, chuck him out. So chuck him out. Who'd you get in? Easy to say Frank out. Who are you going to bring in that you're going to spend 300-400 million probably over the next few transfer windows? Someone you can trust, someone that's going to stay, that's going to stay long enough to build the team and get the team back up to where we should be. As I said, easy to say get rid. I don't know. It is painful. It's going to be painful. Arsenal came through it. They finished 8th 2 years running. Would our fans put up with that? I don't know. I think our fan base are, I don't know, just so entitled. I don't know who they think they are, who we are, Real Madrid. Honestly, I don't get it. I don't understand it.
Loops, thank you so much for opening us up. And I'm going to touch on a number of those subjects. Look, obviously, this is on a day where we've heard certain sources suggest that the players are almost forming their own relationships between themselves in solidarity to the booing that they've had. And just to be clear, at the home games, in 5 of the 7 home games, there has been audible boos, whether that's been at half-time or after the game, they've been there. Bill, we love having you on this show. I think, Bill, you are someone that seems to always, in my opinion, understand the pulse of what Spurs fans feel in general. And again, I know you can't speak for everybody, but the fact that, as I touched upon with that Fulham game, we're 2 goals down in just 6 minutes. We conceded the first in 6 successive home top flight games for the first time since September 2003. In addition to losing 3 successive London derbies for the first time since October 2021, that pressure has ramped up on Thomas Frank. Before we come to Thomas Frank, Bill, we back here really again with everything seemingly crisis? Is that where we're at?
Oh, yeah, we're in a crisis, no doubt about it. And I'd just like to start by offering an apology. I feel really guilty at the moment because I gave my ticket away for free yesterday. I'd like to apologise to the person that took it because, God, that was horrific. And I can only apologise for ruining, that person's day. We're in crisis. We're in a crisis. Like, I think the thing is for me that I know we're going to talk about this a bit later on, but I'm a bit bemused by the fact that players are having a crisis meeting about, I think, the whole thing about the stadium atmosphere and the fact that the players are having a crisis meeting about the relationship with the fans. Like, that's taken away from the fact that the real crisis is how we're playing, surely. Like, why is it? There seems to be a massive deflection from everyone involved. Like, there's a really easy way to get the fans back on side, and that's simply by winning football matches. So I think that's a massive deflection. I think we've been guilty of falling into this for a few weeks now, where Thomas Frank's been coming out and talking about the fans, Vicario has been coming out and talking about the fans. The issue at heart is the way that we're playing at home. It's not about to do with the fans, it's the way that we're playing. So for me, we've bought into this, Thomas Frank and the team have bought into this for a few weeks now. And this is the worst bit where it's got, they're having a crisis meeting about it. Like, the only crisis happening is our home form, and you guys are the ones that need to sort it out. So I'm a bit bemused by all of that. I think, if you look at even going into our away form, we've won 1 game and, going back to the Everton game in our last 8, isn't it? Or something like that, I think.
Nearly a month since that win. Yeah.
And then anyone that was watching on TV yesterday, the dreaded thing that he said was that Fulham have not won an away game all year. They're with Wolves, who have only got 1 point, which is also at Tottenham. It just felt inevitable, and it feels inevitable every time we play at the moment. And then when you consider our next 2 games are Newcastle away, which is a ground that we do terribly at, even though we're playing well, and then you've got Brentford at home, who are going to be desperate to put one in on Thomas Frank. I really, really worry about the way this is heading, to be honest, mate. And no doubt about it, we're in a crisis.
We brought you a week too early for the crisis. I've had to bring you back. Please accept our apologies. I always bring you on, Ed, to normally try and calm down some of the natives, but even me and you are having quite difficult conversations between ourselves. Like Billy touched upon there, just the home form in general. We've faced arguably the 2 worst teams in the league at home in terms of Wolves, of course, and Fulham and just taken 1 point. It's bigger than the home form, just to be very, very clear. And that home form doesn't just start under Thomas Frank. That goes back really over the last 18 months. And now we're hearing suggestions that the players are unhappy with the fans are unhappy with the players, some fans are unhappy with the manager's unhappy with some of the supporters in terms of their reaction to Vicario. Do you also agree, Adam, that we're at that level of crisis?
I hope not. I think it's a combination of everything, right? It's a combination of what Lubo said, and it's a combination of what Billie said. It's every aspect of our club. The on-field, what we're seeing at the minute is a result of what Lubo said, right? It is lack of real investment from the top. It's lack of real desire to invest in the squad. I go back, Lubo mentioned it, the posh squad. Are you there?
Gotcha.
You are there.
Sorry,
I wasn't sure. Just checking your hand. I just had to check your hand.
Just to be clear, we do turn up unlike the team at the moment, although give us 20 minutes.
So just to be clear, right? So, from the top, it's mediocrity. It's never top quality. We don't ever go for top quality. We had that unbelievable Poch team, and I messaged you yesterday, and I said I can't think of a single player that's 50% of those players. Not even replacing them, 50% of them. Van der Ven's the only one that might get close to that squad, but I wouldn't replace him. The mentality is wrong. The players aren't good enough. A few people in the chats again, there's loads of internationals. There are, Italian internationals. Italy are crap at the minute. Brazil are crap at the minute. They're not good. Yeah, so it's not that difficult to be an international. They're just not top international players. There's a problem with the mentality of the players. Absolutely. There's a problem with the mentality at the club. I think we're going to touch on this a bit more, but I'll touch on that because I was told this story this week, and I've been told it a few times over the years. And it was told to me when Bergwijn went to Spurs, and I'm not knocking him at all, but he's come from Ajax as a young player. He's of double his money, and he's walked into Tottenham's training ground, and it's the best training ground by an absolute mile in the country. And he does not have to lift a finger for anything. He's getting paid a load more money. He's 21, 22, and he's getting everything he wants, pampered, the pillows he wants in his bed, everything. So all of a sudden, how do you raise your game again? So we have a problem still with that within our football club, within the players. And we have a problem with the manager. I'm not massively frank out. I'm not massively frank in. That's not really like my starting point. I'm just of the view that I'm bored of changing managers. I was the same with Ange. I was prepared to see it out for a period of time. I just think, what's the point? And I think our fans are part of the problem. And we're going to talk about that, I think, a bit more later, and I'll come back to that. But our fans are part of the problem. We desperately want a rebuild. We desperately know it's going to be painful. We desperately know we need somebody to be given time. And then we wilt a few games in as soon as we have a bad run. And Lubo made the point about Arteta. It's a very good point. If you look at Arsenal, they were crap, but they backed him because they believed it. You look at Man United. I just use Man United as an example, right? They're absolutely woeful, as bad as us, potentially worse than us, right? Their fans sing from the first minute to the last minute, every single game, home and away without fail. They get behind the team, no matter how crap they are, no matter how bad they are. We don't. PSG the other night, you look on Twitter, we're winning. Everyone's like, oh, we're amazing. Da, da, da. We go behind to the best team in Europe, and they're absolutely slating us 5 minutes later and panicking that we're going to lose. We're part of a problem, the fan base. And I don't mean like people. I pay, by the way, so people can say people pay to turn up to pay their money and get that. I get all of that. I understand that. I paid $2,500 for 2 tickets myself at Spurs. So I pay a shitload of money to watch a load of shit at the minute, and I have done for a number of years. But, you came with me, Ricky, to the third game of the season, to Bournemouth. We played PSG pre-season and were brilliant, but didn't quite get over the line. We won 3-0 away to Burnley. We then went away to City and were brilliant and won 2-0. We then came home to Bournemouth, went 1-0 down after 10 minutes, whatever it was, and it was silent.
Yeah, it was.
Silent. No fans behind the team, nothing. Everyone just sat there like that. Come on then, do something. Third game of the season after 3 brilliant games. It was terrible. And it's like that now. There's a problem at home. Away, our fans are brilliant. It's a problem. The manager's a problem, the players are a problem, the mentality of the club are the problem, and the fans are also a problem. We're all part of the problem, as well as terrible recruitment over the years.
Yeah. I mean, look, just in terms of what it means, context of the table, because a few weeks ago we kept on saying, yeah, but we're in and around the top 4, in and around the top 5. As this thing stands at the moment, at the end of match week 13, Tottenham sit 12th in the Premier League table. They're on 18 points. We're currently just 4 points off, forgive me, the top 5 as things stands at the moment. We're also, as things stands at the moment, just forgive me, we were 6 points off the bottom 3. So, I mean, at the moment, with regards to the table, it doesn't make pretty reading. And Bill, in terms of where we stand on Thomas Frank right now, because we're going to come back to what Adam has touched about there in terms of the relationship with the supporters, relationship, vice versa on this topic. Thomas Frank, where are you on him? Do you see this manager worth giving time for the build to?
Short answer is no, I don't. I haven't. I completely understand the argument about, I've used it myself, about Arteta. And what we have to remember is Arsenal gave a lot of time, 4 or 5 years, and an awful lot of money into Arteta to get where he was now. I've not seen enough from Thomas Frank to say that he's the guy that we should be doing that to. I do definitely agree that when we know who that guy is, they've got to get time. I just, from early doors, Thomas Frank, I don't think he's that guy. I don't think he has the personality to be able to handle a squad, with all the problems that come with having an elite club. And when you're talking about an elite club with aspirations that we want to be, you get big characters, you get difficult characters, you get difficult situations, you get scrutiny. Like Thomas Frank would have had more scrutiny in these 12 games than he would have across his entire career. And I don't think he can handle it, to be honest. I don't think he has the personality to handle it. I also don't think his base level of the way he wants us to play will suit Tottenham long term. I think, yesterday, for example, the concerning thing for me is we were carrying out his game plan. His game plan was to get the ball to Porro and cross into the box. I think we had 20 plus crosses from Porro. I don't think that's not the kind of football that I want to see personally, and it certainly didn't work last night. And my big concern is I just think he's a little bit too conservative and a little bit too gives too much respect to the opposition to make it at Tottenham. So I think yesterday was a bit of an idea for me. I'd love to be proved wrong if we give him the end of the season. I don't think there's a world in which we sack Thomas Frank now, unless it gets really, really bad. He's probably just about to deserve the end of the season and see how we go from there. Because, there's not a whole wealth of managers available right now. If we get to the summer, the World Cup after that, there's quite a different caliber of managers available. But to answer to your question, I don't think he's the guy which is going to take us forward. I think he's not brave enough to be a Tottenham manager, and his style of play, I just don't think long term is what we want to invest 4 or 5 years plus best part of £1 billion into.
Would you sack him right now, Bill?
I mean, if you asked me this time yesterday, yes, I would do it. Now that I've cooled down a little bit, it's probably not it's probably acting with your head over your heart, and he probably deserves a little bit more time. See, just because I don't know who we're going to. It's way too early to write off the rest of the season, isn't it? Like, we're still in the Champions League, we've still got an awful lot of games to go, so probably just about deserves the season. But my long-term picture of Frank is I just don't see him being the guy.
Okay, Lubes, let me come over to you. Look, I saw this great tweet from Jack Pitbrook, who said on X that Tottenham base are as bad right now as they were in January, February, but with less mitigation, less credit in the bank for a manager, and without that sense shared of purpose provided by the Europa League campaign. That was also followed up by, again, another great message that said, other than Pochettino, we've had 2 periods in the last 10 years where we've been united around the leader's personality and everyone has gone for them. Conte for a 9-month period and Ange for at least 3 months of his opening tenure of the season. Frank at the moment has got nothing for us to cling to. Is that fair, Lubo, at the moment with regards to what you are seeing being dished up to you as a home and away supporter right now?
Right, okay. First, right, Ricky, can I just, before I answer that,
yep,
can I just answer one comment
of course you can.
in the comments after I spoke a few minutes ago?
course you can.
The fans are entitled to a lot more. We do pay the highest prices, and in fairness, we haven't had value for money, apart from maybe a few months with Conte and 10 games with Ange in 6 years. So I am well aware of that, but I do think that we've got to go. If we keep changing managers, we're never going to get anywhere. So that's where I'm coming from. And the football is a hard watch this season at home. Sorry, going back to.
That's fine, Lou. I mean, I think the question is, though, is this the right one to go through the build with? From what you've seen, you as a fan, you've seen, and I don't want to age you, many managers over the last, God knows how many years at Tottenham. Is this the right manager to go through the build with? From what you have seen, from what you have watched, from what you know to be Spurs in your heart, based on what he's got to work with, based on the money he may be given in January, is this the right man to be given extra money to in the hope it's going to get better? Is this the right man?
I think it's too soon to judge. I genuinely do. Listen, he's won 5, lost 5, and drawn 3 in the league. He's won 2 and lost 1 in Europe. It is pretty average, but look at what he's got to work with. We've lost our creativity with Maddison and Kulusevski. I'm sure Solanke would have done a better job probably overall than Richie, although Richie's stats are not terrible at the moment. But Richie's play is, aside from that, is just awful. Apart from Wednesday night, I thought he played well in Paris. I don't know. How what's the point of you get rid of Ange, which I agree with. You brought in Frank, so you spent 17 million getting rid of one and bringing in another, and then saying, right, okay, you've had 4 months, off you go, ta-da. What sort of look does that give to any other prospective manager who Spurs want to bring in? It's like, well, Christ, they're going to get rid of me after 18 games or 20 games. Or they've got rid of Frank, they get rid of me after 20. What, we're going to have 3 managers every season?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say, Lou, back to your point, is that they may have a get out by the fact that it appears Daniel Levy was very much part of the hands-on negotiations of bringing Thomas Frank to the football club. I mean, Adam's kind of shaking his head there. We'll come on to Adam that in a second. Maybe that's their get out on it. Because again, just to be clear, this is what the Lewis family said. Not Spurs fans have said, right, Lou, let's let you come back in. They said that the Europa League win was going to be the springboard to further success. There was at that point no feeling or indication. Yes, of course, there was going to have to be some kind of readjustment, transition to a new manager. But I don't think fans were thinking, and again, we've all made this point on the show at different times, and you've been in Lubo as well. We finished 17th last season. We did win a European trophy. But I don't think anyone envisioned in their mind we're going to have to go through a really, really painful season yet again and drop right down the table. And I do think, the squad is nowhere near good enough to agree with what Adam and Billy and you said so far. But I think it does come down to that point that from what you're seeing, and again, I said this on the last show, pre-match, post-match, by the way Thomas Frank speaks, is that a man that gives you the confidence he is the right man to be leading Tottenham given more funds? And you, at the moment, you're saying you're just unsure at the moment.
I was disappointed to hear what he said about only winning 10 to 12 games. And
in a perfect season.
For me, that's not, you wouldn't hear Maresca or Arteta, Slot, Pep talking like that, would you?
Correct.
You wouldn't. So that, for me, that was really disappointing. He's coming from a mid-table club that he did very well at, but there was no pressure, no expectation on him. So he wins a few games, he finishes 9th or 10th. Brentford are happy, because they're a small club and they're punching above their weight. He has to grow into it. Now, you'll see after a season if he's going to grow into it. For me personally, I'd love to have Pochettino back, and I'd love to have him back next season. I can't see him walking out on, or even sharing the jobs. For me, it'd be perfect if he could share the jobs going forward. Then maybe I think, let's bring him in now, because he's the only one. He's the only one that would unite the fan base. I think
You say that. I agree with you for me, but I know there's some people that wouldn't want him back. I mean, I'm only sitting in the comments here. There's some. I'm in agreement with you. I think for a lot of the home fans, can't speak for every single home fan. I know a lot of home fans would maybe feel we've got someone back at the club, which in his period there, Lou, but let you come back in, understood us.
Well, totally. You know, he came into the club straight away. He brought everybody together. He had all the different teams eating together at the club, got every team playing the same way. And he just, you know, him and the team just brought just a buzz to the whole club. What could he do with this group of players? Probably not too much more than Frank is. But if Vivian and Charlie Lewis are serious about what they've turned down three proposal offers of intent to buy the club, one of which fell through because two or three of the consortium pulled out. That left two. They turned those two down. They're talking about building the club up and going after more trophies. Let's see some action now. Let's see. It's talk that we've not had from ENIC since they bought the club, because Joe Lewis and Daniel Levy never hid anything. There was just never any ambition on the football side. It was only used, the club was only used as a money to get rich. Now let's see, maybe the kids have looked at it. They've seen Bilbao. They've seen how big the club was with 220,000 turning up for the parade. You know, and they're coming out with all the right sounds. Now they've got to back it up. Now they've got to put their money where their mouth is. If they do, then at least we've got half a chance. If they don't, then they may as well sell the club and let's get people in who want success for the club. Because the only manager that ENIC have ever backed, and not even, I say not even backed correctly, because for me, backing a club is you spend whatever it takes to bring in a top player. You know, you spent 5 million on Dele Alli, you spent 15 on Modric. Arsenal spent 105 on Rice. They knew what they were getting.
Yep.
You know, if we want to go after someone like Elliot Anderson, who would just completely reinvigorate the whole midfield, give it a completely new dynamic, we'd be so much better with someone like him. Forest are going to charge 100 million. Go and pay the 100 million. Show ambition. Chelsea paid 100 million for two players, Enzo and Caicedo. City paid it for Grealish. Liverpool just spent the money on Isak and Wirtz. Just spent 240 million on those two.
Yeah.
You know, and our record transfer fees 57 on Solanke. So, you know, we're way off the rest of them in terms of, and listen, spending big money doesn't guarantee you. You know, Anthony wasn't a success at 81 million. Pepe at Arsenal wasn't a success at 72 million. But if you've got people that know what they're doing and look at players and analyse and bring in the right players, if the recruitment is spot on, Arsenal knew with Declan Rice they were going to get 8, 9, 10 out of 10 every single week.
Yep.
Every week.
Spot on.
And that's what you want. We're taking punts on players. We took a punt on Ndombele for 54 million. I mean, that cost the club 106 million in total. What a disaster that was. That was bad recruitment. Nobody looked into his character. Yeah, he was bought on one game at the Etihad. So, you know, we've got to sharpen up our act, and we're a big club. We're not an elite club, but we're a big club, but we don't act like a big club.
No.
And we've got to start acting like a big club. Otherwise we're going to finish up nowhere.
Okay.
You know, maybe a Conference League or a Europa League, but that'll be the level of our ambition.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to go around to Adam on Frank, and I just want to come over to you. I mean, Lube's made some really important points there around Thomas Frank. And I mean, look, again, the expectation level we're seeing he's become very prickly in press conferences, post-match. We saw that after the Fulham game. Spurs, we've lost 44 of our last 99 Premier League games. And you brought up Pochettino there, Lubo. Pochettino lost 46 of his 202 in charge. I mean, that stat is crazy. Now, as I mentioned, Spurs, we sit 12th at the moment in terms of the Premier League table. We've got 18 points as things stand. We've scored 21 goals. We've conceded 16 after the 13 matches. In comparison to last season at this stage, we'd scored 7 more goals. We let in 2 fewer. and add 2 more points to our tally, where we were 7th. We're currently averaging just 9.5 shots and 3.2 shots on target per game in the Premier League this season, both of which are our lowest averages on record in a single campaign since the 03-04 season. And like Lubo mentioned, Tottenham's last 10 matches under Thomas Frank at the moment reads 2 wins, 2 draws, 6 defeats. I know, Ed, you could understand why right now there are fans that are massively questioning in terms of how this is going to work moving forward. But what do you say to those fans that at this moment in time can't see a way forward based on how we're playing, based on, maybe I said this to you over the phone earlier when we were speaking, it appears at the moment there's a confusion for me amongst how some of these players are being asked to set up and play. You tell me your thoughts on Frank and where we are right now in your mind.
I mean, I'm on the shelf. I'm not in or out. I think the bit where I think is unfair on him is people like, well, he's managed a mid-table team, and then we've just literally using examples of Chelsea and Arsenal. Well, Arteta had never ever managed before he managed Arsenal. That was his first job. He hadn't even managed a mid-table team. Manesca at Chelsea, his only job in management was managing Leicester City in the Championship. So if you put it into context of those 3 managers, Frank has more credentials than Arteta did and Manesca did when he came in. Okay, that's just a fact, and a load more experience. Now, again, if we go back, we've been woeful for 2 years now, and people talk about the style of play under Frank. Well, we had the style of play under Ange with the exact same players, and we were equally woeful. We were no better, we were no worse. So maybe it's a combination of all of that. But if we use the Arsenal model, and I hate talking about them but Lubo's mentioning Declan Rice. If you put Declan Rice in our midfield, would we be a much better team? If you then put Van Dijk in, that transformed Klopp's team, would we be a much better team? If you gave Frank 3 or 4 of these types of players that we're talking about, that we would love, that we don't think our board and our owners will ever buy, like a Saka, like a Declan Rice, whoever it might be, these types of players, Enzo Fernandez, would we be a much better team under Frank? Yes, we would. There's no doubt about it. We wouldn't be crap, would we? We'd be a much better team if you gave him those types of players that Manesca has and Arteta has at his disposal. Does that mean I think he's the man that we should back? I don't know, because I haven't seen enough. I've seen enough in certain games to think actually there's something there. The PSG games, the City away games, I've seen lots of these games where I thought, okay, I see what they're doing. And then I've seen other games when I've never been more bored in my life, and they've looked absolutely shambolic and clueless. But if I look at the game yesterday, everybody was delighted or happy with the starting 11. It was the same 11 virtually that played against PSG, and they were terrible. So that can't just sit on the manager. There has to be more to it than that. So I don't know. I don't know is the answer. But if ENIC are serious, because for me it all stems back to the top. Yeah, we have penny pinched, bought players that aren't good enough, young players that we think might be good enough, all of these types of stuff, instead of established top level players. If we buy top level players and back a manager, I reckon we would be successful. I reckon we'd have been successful probably under Ange. I reckon we'd have been successful under Conte. I reckon we'd be successful in Frank. If we properly went in.
What's successful, Ed? What's successful in your eyes? What do you term as successful? Was that winning another trophy?
I think if we backed a manager in the way that Chelsea and Arsenal have over the past few years, we'd be up there in the top 4. Yeah. With Conte for sure. And I'm not saying I liked Conte and the style of play. I get all that. I'm not getting into that. Yeah. But we would have been. Ange, probably, if we'd came and bought these types of players, probably. And Frank, probably as well, I think. But it's a combination of everything. When you've got a manager that isn't absolutely top class, and then you give him mediocre players, what are you expecting?
Listen, I'm going to come on to Bill. Your Wi-Fi slightly glitching. It might be worth a reset and to come back in very quickly. Bill, I think one of the biggest frustrations right now, and again, Adam's touched upon it in terms of maybe the quality of player, but is the biggest problem right now, Bill, the lack of real growth we're seeing at the moment in players. And what I mean by that is improvement right now. I mean, that's the thing. I think in his early few weeks at Tottenham, and again, depends on how you judge this, I think we saw real green shoots around Sarr. He looked like he was going up another level. Burval looked like he was improving. My biggest concern right now when I'm watching Tottenham is that the body language of players doesn't seem to be great. Whether it's they're not listening to instruction, they're doing their own thing. I think Luke made the point yesterday on our post-match analysis show against Fulham that there were times where, really similar to last season, that players seemingly were going out of position and really going wherever they wanted on the field. To me, it didn't scream like there was a lot of structure in that game against Fulham. I mean, you mentioned it to you. You're not with Frank View at the moment. Is that your biggest problem at the moment, Bill? Is it the lack of improvement between what you've seen last season to this season that has got you to these concerns? And also on top of that, I mean, again, look, I'm not saying that we should be sacking a manager based on XG, but when you look at our XG over the course of the season for Tottenham in general, you know, forgive me, but we've tilted between 0.1 and 0.07, and 9 games out of 13 in the Premier League, we've not been able to reach 1 XG. I mean, I'm not saying XG is everything, because I know people don't want to, really analyse XG, but what would you say, Bill, for you at the moment when I say that to you in terms of the players themselves?
I think that the biggest concern for me over Thomas Frank is he's not been able to stamp any kind of identity on the team whatsoever at the moment. And when we do, the next game, he's too quite keen to change things around, and there's not been able to really find an 11 formation or system with any kind of consistency. So, for example, we've had spells this season where players like Odebertel, Sarr, the biggest one for me is Sarr, have had patches of form, and then they're taken out the team, replaced by another player for a couple of games, and they're not been able to build any kind of form long term because they're constantly changed. Odebertel came on against Man United, changed the game around, scored a goal and assist, or got an assist, and rarely seen again. Sarr, a fantastic player for the beginning of the season. Was carrying us at the beginning of the season, carried us in pre-season, taken out the team, and then very rarely seen again. We've now gone, then he favoured Bentancur and Palhinha for a stretch of games. That's now been, shelved for Gray and Bergval. He just doesn't seem to really understand what the team that he wants, and that's okay. 12 games in, that's you can kind of expect that from a manager. But I think it's really harming us, and I think we're probably been a bit unlucky with the fact that the Champions League, having to play these 2 massive games a week, I don't think he's able to cope with it because, we can't find that consistency. We can't find that sort of system that he wants to play. And I think, as Adam was saying, Bergval, Gray have a fantastic game midweek against PSG. Everyone's calling them to play. They come in and suddenly we look terrible against Fulham. It's really difficult to find any kind of momentum and consistency at the moment. Spence in and out the team as well. Udogie in and out the team. So I think he's having a real hard job at the moment, stamping his authority on the team and what he wants. And that's okay if you're going to be a manager that changes every week and you sort of changes the formation to suit the opposition. If you do that, you have to see results because it's obviously not working, whatever he's doing. It's almost like he's sort of guessing at the moment, which is a worry, or feeding off what fans want and fan sentiment. Fans are idiots. Let's be honest. I'm an idiot. Thomas Frank should not be reacting to me. He's a manager. He should be the one that's choosing it. And I think at the moment, as you saw the clamour to play Bergval and Gray midweek, which we were all going for, yeah, you have to block that stuff out as manager. You have to be the one. And Ange, again, I'm not going to keep talking about Ange. We always do it, but this is the guy that wouldn't change his team for love nor money. So, and again, I think the thing is with Tottenham, we need somewhere in the middle. We need some kind of week-to-week consistency because we're not seeing them out enough. And probably last season we probably saw a bit too much. So I don't think, and like Johnson, for example, has not been seen in the last few games. A lot of fans will be happy with that, but again.
Yep.
Some fans I know will be calling for our top scorers to be playing when we're not creating XG. So I don't think there's any kind of consistent patterns. I think the big thing for me is when these players are not playing with each other week in, week out, there's no time to build any relationships and patterns and consistency, which is why our attacking play is absolutely woeful. Like yesterday, I think we could have played, for 2 days against Fulham.
We weren't going to get back. We weren't going to win that game. We
had a spell of momentum in the second half, and then he immediately goes and makes 3 subs, and then after that it was gone again.
Killed it.
Yeah, I understand he was unlucky because we had the momentum. He'd already got the subs prepared, but sometimes you just have to sort of react to things like that. So I think his constant changing of the team has not allowed us to build any kind of patterns and any kind of relationships moving forward.
Okay, Lube, I'm going to come over to you. I mean, look, one of the biggest things around Thomas Frank, right, and the appointment of Frank is that one of his biggest strengths during his period with Brentford was that thing around the tactical flexibility. And now it does feel like that actually is becoming a bit of a weakness. And this is a guy that was known for creating plans for the opposition. He's obviously found it a lot harder to replicate at Spurs. And I think, again, that's down to the fact that he's playing more than once a week. He's barely having time to train. He does keep changing the system. I think what's very clear to everyone out there from what we're seeing as well, he hasn't quite worked out yet what his strongest 11 is. But I go back to the point that I raised to both Billy and Adam, Lubo, is that the real problem for Frank right now is that many fans feel, as opposed to the team getting better, it's worse. And I'm not saying he promised he was going to fix everything, but because the team is regressing, Lubo, is that where that lack of patience that maybe you're referring to is coming from the fans that are paying a huge amount of money to watch this club at home alone before you even consider what you spend going away from home to watch them, and that the results, especially at home, just aren't quite there? And again, body language of players, the feeling around the club right now, I mean, it's already toxic and we're only end of November.
I think he's overthinking it a bit. He doesn't know his best 11. So he's trying different things. And I suppose if you look at it and you think, we're not going to win the league. He's here. He thinks he's here hopefully for the long term. So he's got to try and get to grips with the squad. He's probably looking at the squad thinking, it's not as good as I thought it would be. He obviously doesn't trust certain players because he's probably setting up more not to lose and to try and nick a dead ball, nick a goal from a dead ball or a breakaway counter-attack, which doesn't play into what fans want to see when they're paying mad money for tickets at home games. Away from home, it's okay. It's different. The home team's expected to attack, and Spurs have picked off. We've had some very good results apart from the Arsenal game. Away from home, Spurs have been okay. I felt sorry for him yesterday. We had a good result. We didn't have a good result on Wednesday. We had a decent performance on Wednesday. I think the performance was important on Wednesday, whereas the performance and the result yesterday were important. So he's picked a team yesterday. He stayed with Bergvall and Gray to give them legs in midfield. He's brought Porro in for Spence for the technical side and for the attacking. So he's got Porro and Udogie either side. He's brought Kudus in. He stayed with the 2 boys up top who scored 3 goals. So as a fan, I didn't hear and didn't see any fans. I mean, I personally would have wanted Spence rather than Porro. I think Spence is different class. He can tackle. He can defend.
Do you think, Lubo, just on the England cap with Spence, has that slightly gone to his head, do you think, that England cap? Because Spence, to me, hasn't looked anywhere near the same player since that England cap. And I'm not just digging out on him. Nobody, I don't think, is playing that well at the moment. But I worry that anything that goes to these players' heads is taken literally from some of them.
Sure, but maybe. His form hasn't been as good, but I thought he was decent in Paris on Wednesday night. I thought he had a good game. But it's within 6 minutes, you got the first goal where Porro's lost a man, Gray's not covered, Bergvall slipped, nobody's on Tete to come out and block the shots. And they earned their luck, Fulham, and they 1-0 up. Second goal, I mean, Vicario, what was he doing? That was just pure madness, wasn't it? He won't do that again in his career. And before you know it, 6 minutes down, we're 2-0. 6 minutes, and we're 2-0 down. And so all the optimism that had come from the performance in Paris has all gone. You know, you're 2-0 down in 6 minutes against Fulham. I mean, I had fans from other clubs texting me saying, "Ian, what's going on here? This scoreline looks unbelievable." So I felt sorry for Frank because the players chucked him under the bus last night. You know, they hit the post. Van der Ven made that great tackle when Porro let the guy through. We could have been 4-0 down. 4-0 at home to Fulham at half-time. I mean, that's horrendous. That is absolutely horrendous. I don't know. You know, I did feel sorry for Frank. I'm not sure what more he could have done. When we got back to 2-1, he's got the subs coming on. You're looking to yourself, Simmons for Gray. That's a good substitution. Paulinia off, Bentancur on. Okay, one like for like, and the other one was it Odobert for Richie? I think so. Okay, he's playing. He wants to play one. He wants to play two wide and play Moani in the middle. You know, Moani came close with the header in the back heel. Bergvale had one off the line. So, you know, there were chances in the second half.
Yeah.
I did feel for Frank because I'm not sure what more he could have done apart from maybe held the subs back, given the team an extra 5-10 minutes when we had the momentum and we got the goal back to go out and see with the same 11 if we could go and get an equaliser. Other than that, I couldn't criticise him yesterday. It's down to the players, Ricky. The players are just not good enough.
I'm going to come on to the players literally in this next second, but I think, you know, I said this on the previous show that Frank isn't directly responsible for that 6 minutes of madness, but there has been this 4-month period where it does feel everybody's confidence seems to be on the floor at the moment. And the players look, for me personally, look petrified of playing at home. And Adam's going to do a piece in a second with regards to the players. But my worry is right now that I look at some of these players and they don't quite seem to know what the destination is right now under Frank or what they've got to do in terms of how they're playing. Maybe I'm giving the players an out by saying that, you know, a lot of these players have been under a lot of different managers, but, you know, fair play to some of them because they've not all been here since the Pochettino era. Obviously, Ben Davies is the only player left from the Pochettino era, right? Let's be very, very clear on that. But what I'm seeing at the moment, to me, is players on the field that at times don't know their jobs. And to me, that's where the instruction from the manager, when I go back, Ad, and you speak about the early part of the season, the Man City game, and whether again it's just the fact that players turn up for certain games, that Man City game to me was a really structured, disciplined display where every single player knew what was expected of them on that day in terms of doing their job. I fast forward 2-3 months later, same group of players, they know what they're doing. And that, I think, is the massive concern. And that, again, just to be clear, within that period, you had a couple of disputes in the camp, you know, the whole thing around Van der Ven and Spence blanking Frank as they come off the pitch. I would love to know what some of those players are thinking right now. I would love to know when they hear Frank talk, whether it's pre-match, post-match, has he got it? Does he have it? You know, there's certain things he says for me that alarm bells are ringing. It's not all just what's actually happening within 94, 95, 96 minutes of a game. It's what he's actually saying pre-match and post-match is where my alarm bells are ringing. I've got to be able to say that. You know, from what we hear from him pre and post-match is my biggest worry. Is that we're going to squeeze in our first break of the show for our listeners that are on audio. We have got over 6,500 of you that are watching us live. Thank you so much, as always, for incredible support for Last Word on Spurs. We try and make these shows happen after the game because it's an opportunity to bring on fans that, again, listen, we're blessed to have fans all over the world that watch and listen to Last Word on Spurs, but I love bringing on fans that are so in touch with the club, that go home and away, home to get holders, the likes of Billie T, bless his heart, Lubo, of course, and Adam Osper on this show. Look, we need to address one thing that's come out in this last 24 hours, and this is from Telegraph Sport. And before I read this, guys, if you can continue for us to keep liking, subscribing, hyping to the show, that would be greatly appreciated. This is from the Telegraph. Club sources have acknowledged players discussed their relationships with supporters in a post-Chelsea meeting. Insiders believed it would be more damaging if such an obvious issue was being ignored. It is also understood that this is not the first set of Spurs players to have held concerns over their relationship with the club's fans, and that has been an issue in previous years. The players have adopted a new convention where they gather together in a centre circle at the end of the first half and leave the pitch together. It is believed they feel it demonstrates their solidarity regardless of the atmosphere. Players don't walk around the pitch at the end of the game applauding the supporters. Billy, let me come to you. You were here last season before we changed for Spurs, where again, that was very much about bringing together the fans. How does that make you feel to hear that, Bill, that our own players right now feel, according to this report, there is such a disconnect with the supporters?
I think it's massively misguided, to be honest with you. I think they're focusing on completely the wrong things. It's given way too much attention from the players and the manager in almost every interview at the moment. There's a really simple solution. They need to hold more accountability for the performances on the pitch, which needs to be better. That is the end of it, in my opinion. I think fans are charged through the nose to go in that stadium. They've had a horrific run of it in the last year. And the audacity to then come out and say, well, actually, we're going to try and do this. We're all going to meet in the centre circle in defiance to the fans being horrible to us. And we're not even going to bother going around that. For me, there's no accountability from the players there. And I think the fact that they're having a crisis meeting about this rather than their own form says, their priorities in the completely wrong way. I do understand the frustrations, a lot of people at the moment are quick to blame the fans and the atmosphere, and it's not good enough. And we know that it's not good enough. I will listen. I will take us back, though, a few years to the Pochettino era. I think all fans need to feel like is that they're belonging to something, which is going somewhere. And when they feel like that, you're not going to go 1-0 down in the football game and get boos. And you're not going to go 1-0 football down and get silence. You're going to get the crowd behind you. Tottenham fans have been on this journey since Pochettino was sacked. We've been in decline. We've been told it's another project, another manager's going to come in. Be patient. This is a new project. This is a new manager. This one's going to be the one. Don't worry. We've been in steady decline every single season since we've moved into the stadium, and we don't feel like the club any belonging whatsoever to our club because we're not treated like fans. We're treated like customers. There's no incentive whatsoever from our board to make our atmosphere feel like our stadium. Feel like the only thing they are interested in is making it feel like a place where we want to spend our money and they want to take our money. It doesn't feel like a football stadium. It feels like a shop, a massive shop designed for them to maximize their profits. So until the club work really hard on making the fans build that sense of belonging, I don't want to hear the stupidity of us being blamed. I'm sick of it, to be honest. I'm sick of it coming from the manager. I'm sick of it coming from the players. I'm sick of being charged thousands of pounds to go and do it every single week. So I think the onus is on them. It's not on fans. And I'm sick of hearing the fans being blamed for these things.
Adam, me coming to you. We saw that incident over Vicario, of course, in that game against Fulham where Thomas Frank, I'm paraphrasing here, was suggesting that, you're not a real Tottenham fan if you're booing Vicario in that moment of when he's struggling. Fair enough. If you want to boo after the game, it's fair. And again, he was kind of caught up in a journalist with regards to how that interpretation of that question came about. Look, for me personally, I think you pay your money, you're entitled to do what you want. That's just my personal opinion. Maybe people don't agree with that. In the 5 out of 7 home games this season, as I mentioned, there's been audible boos, whether it's at half-time, whether it's at full-time. Where are you on that? Because you're going to do a piece for us in a second in terms of the players from their perspective. Because again, you're very well connected in the footballing world with players. You understand how maybe some players tick and what their feelings are around playing, performing amongst, obviously, crowds. But are the fans right to be targeted right now, given they've seen only 3 home wins in 2025 and the level of performance, I think, has been nowhere near good enough? Where do you stand that for you, Ed?
I think it's a combination of everything. And I think what Bill is saying is spot on. But I think the problem I've sort of got right at the minute is all of the anger that we all feel, that I agree 100% with Billy, is aimed at the wrong place. So there's been loads of change for Spurs that Billy did and everybody did, trying to orchestrate demonstrations against the board. And they were okay. They didn't get huge numbers. But in the stadium on a match day, the frustration is there. And the frustration of the board, the lack of investment, the trying to take all of our money, not buying the right players, is vented at the players. It's vented in the wrong way, in my opinion. They're like the fall guy of it. But I understand it. Mate, I've got no problem with people booing. Okay, people go. Where I have a problem, and this is just my opinion, is if our starting point as fans is we want Spurs to win. Yeah, we all go to Spurs and we want them to win the game, right? If you boo Vicario, who's made a clanger, whose confidence is down, and you're on his case, it's going to do nothing but make it worse for the team going forward. So what's the point of doing it? If, as a fan base, we got behind Vicario at that point and sung his name or supported him or supported the team, his confidence levels would go up. And there's a chance that the team would do better. That's just my opinion. After the game, halftime, whatever it is, boo them, tell them they've been useless. But if we want to win the game at 2-0 down to Fulham, destroying our goalkeeper is not going to help. It's only going to make it worse. And then you can make another mistake. And people can say, well, his crap should come off and all of that stuff. Fine. But there's no upside to it. So I don't see the point in it mid-game.
Yeah. And I'm going to come back to it in a second because we're going to do a bigger piece right now in terms of the players in a second. I just need to get Lubo's opinion with regards to this topic. Lubo, again, look, you go home and away, right? I think it's fair to say that the away fans, and I don't want to speak for you, you're going to speak. The away fans, I think, offer a huge amount of support and really drive the players on away from home. You're there, you're going to tell me this, of course, as well. It does feel, obviously, at home, it's a difficult environment right now.
I think, yes, this season definitely. Last season, we were at Alkmaar and the fans went berserk at the players. You had the problems at Chelsea where with Postecoglou telling the fans to be quiet.
Cupped his ear to the fans.
He put his hands to his ear, didn't he?
Yep.
So there have been issues with away fans as well. I think the problem is, and being honest, talking as a home and away fan, you've got 3,000 to 4,000 who get the tickets for the away games, and they're seeing a difference. They've got a different perspective on Spurs this season because at least they're seeing some decent performances and results away from home. The fans that are coming at the 54, 55,000 are going every single week that don't go to away games are seeing garbage and seeing rubbish performances and rubbish results. So I fully understand the fans' frustration. When it comes to booing, half-time, full-time, while the game's going on, get behind the team. Players know, every player knows when they make a mistake. Some players are stronger mentally than others. Some will just roll their sleeves up and say, "Sod it, I'm going to make up for this." Others will be a little bit, "Oh Christ, what have I done here?" And I think fans need to get behind all the players while the game's on. Get behind them. It's not going to help booing the team while they're playing. I mean, that's it's really a negative on a negative, which isn't going to help. So try and lift the players. I didn't agree with the fans booing Vicario or like sarcastically clapping when he cleared the next ball down the pitch. He knows better than anybody if he's made a mistake. I just think the fans' frustration isn't born out of just Frank's the way he's playing. I just think it's born out of many years of Spurs underachieving, fans being overcharged for tickets, the ownership not showing the ambition that the fans have got. I just think fans are fed up with it all, and me. I was absolutely delighted. I was coming home on I think was it September the 4th, and I was getting texts coming through. I was driving. I just heard the phone texting the whole time. I had TalkSport on. Andy Goldstein said, "Oh, we got breaking news. Daniel Levy's left." I was like, just screamed in the car. At last, go sling your hook. You have held him and Joe Lewis, the two of them together, have held Tottenham back for 25 years. And fantastic on the commercial side, wonderful. memories aren't made of having the best bank balance and being the most profitable team. Memories are made for us fans like Bilbao, like Ramos, like Gazza's Cup final team, not that Ricky Villa, etc., etc., etc. And for me, I want to see more nights like this.
Yeah, we all do. I mean, but it's a frustration, right? Because it goes back to that point, Lubo, that what the Lewis family have said is that the reason for the change of manager and the reason why they want to now really take the club on is because they want more nights like Bilbao, right? They want to see more wins, more success. I think that, again, is why there's that frustration right now, because whether rightly or wrongly, fans maybe didn't think to themselves, we're now going to go for another painful rebuild. And just on the home form, before I bring you back in, because I want you to bring on that topic you were talking to me about around the players and their mindset. Just to be clear, Tottenham at home in the Premier League this season. Look, we know it's been 3 wins in 20 since November of 2024, right? Just to be clear. But in terms of this season so far at home, 1 win, 2 draws, 4 losses. We've faced an average position in the table of 12th. 105 days since Tottenham's last home win in the Premier League. Wolves had 1 away goal all season. Bournemouth had 1 away win all season. Fulham have had 1 away win all season too. And when you consider Tottenham have now played, 20 home Premier League games over the last year, 4 wins, 4 draws, 12 defeats, 16 points for a possible 60, 0.8 points per game, just ahead over of West Ham over the last year, who averaged 0.78%. That was a 20% win record. So when you're also looking at other key metrics, why there's that frustration there, that Tottenham have faced 37 more shots and 27 more shots on target than they have attempted across those 12 months at home. And Fulham's 2-0 lead as of the 6th minute marked the earliest that Spurs had ever conceded 2 goals in a Premier League home match. And Tottenham have lost 4 consecutive home London derbies for the first time in the Premier League, twice versus Chelsea, Crystal Palace and Fulham. So I think we can understand where fans right now are feeling massively, massively aggrieved, as what Lubo has said, are paying some of the highest ticket prices in the country, if not in Europe, when it comes to home, and being served that up. But I know, Ed, you just want to offer a different point with regards to how the players are maybe feeling from that angle. I know you're coming back in. I know we're going to try and bring Adam back in on a different platform. Give me 1 second. We're going to try and bring Adam back in. Hold on for me. We've got you, Ad. We'll get Ad just to quickly rotate his camera for us, so we've got him in landscape. And Ad, we'll let you bring in maybe from your perspective, maybe what is going through a player's mindset right now with regards to the fans and that relationship, if you can, for us.
Yeah, so somebody called me a happy clapper in the chat. I mean, I'm absolutely not a happy clapper, like far from it. I mean, I could be further from a happy clapper, but okay. So look, I agree with everything's saying, right? Like, people are like, sometimes people like misconstrue, they convolute things and bring it all into one. So, Billy's absolutely right that the players need to take a cold, hard look at themselves to sort themselves out. But if you just, I work with about 70 footballers now, right? And I chat to them all the time about loads of different things, and they'll talk about things and they'll explain things. What we need to remember, in the cold light of day, they may be professional footballers, but they're a human being, right? Just like us. They have feelings like us. Their confidence will get knocked like us in all walks of life, right? In all of the jobs that we do, there have been times where maybe things are a bit crap, things are a bit difficult, your confidence down, you don't perform as well as you're meant to do, right? So if we take that as a given, as a starting point, the players at the minute are lacking confidence and are scared to play at home. Yeah, they're going out onto the pitch in the back of their mind, thinking, as soon as I make a mistake, I'm going to get fucking hammered. Someone's going to be screaming at me. I'm going to get dog's abuse. But we can sit here and go, oh, well, they should be doing better. They get paid a lot of money. I get that. I understand that. I don't disagree with that. But it doesn't, there's not a correlation in life with how much money you get paid and how you can control your emotions. Yeah, they're all married, they have kids, they have partners, they have relations. They're just normal people like us. They get trained to do a job in a different way that we do. Yeah. And yes, they're meant to be able to handle themselves under pressure. And some players can handle themselves better under pressure. Somebody you put up before at Real Madrid, they waved the white hankies. Yeah. Real Madrid have got the best players in the world. So they're playing the players who are, one, the most technically best players in the world, and two, the mentally strongest to cope with the situation where they're in. We're not. We don't. So I'm not having a go at the fans. It's not the fans' fault, but it's a part of it. These players are knowing every single week it gets spoken about. Are you going to win at home? You're going to win at home. 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 Are you going to get abused? You're going to get abused. You're going to get shouted at. What do you think they speak about in the changing room? Oh my God, that one got screamed at. Did you hear that? Someone told me directly this week, Odebear is unbelievable in training. Unbelievable player. But he's scared to make mistakes at home in front of the fans. It's a mentality thing. He may overcome that. That may change once he has a couple of good games and scores. But that's a reality of life and of the situation. So this stuff about the players being together and talking about it is probably because they're wanting to try to overcome it, rather than, oh my God, the fans are the problem. If it wasn't for the fans, we'd be great. I don't believe that. I think it's more they're thinking, right, how can we try and change this situation and change our mentality to try to do better? But there is a problem with the players and all of that, and I'm not disputing that, and I'm not saying it's not their fault. I'm not saying that Porro isn't making mistake after mistake, and I'm not saying that Vicario isn't making clanger after clanger, because he has done. And that doesn't mean that I don't think they're good enough and they shouldn't be improved. But again, if we don't have mentally strong players, for me that comes down to who recruited them. You want to recruit players who you think are mentally strong to go on and to be able to cope in really high pressured situations and so on. And that comes back, as again, I said this at the beginning about the training ground and all of those things. Yeah. The training ground is like a 5-star luxury spa. They get everything. They got their beds, like the right pillows for them if they're staying there, everything they want. So if you're coming from a championship club, or you're coming overseas from Holland, where you get paid 50 to 70% less than what you get paid here. So you go from 300 grand a year to £2 million a year at 22. And then the facilities are the best you've ever seen and the best you're ever going to get. You think you've made it. You think you've made it. And you might just think, oh, well, I'm all right. I've got my 5-year deal on this much money. I'm set for life. I'm all right. And that's all part of the problem.
But the thing nowadays on this point, how are we going to overcome this? You've now got Porro suggesting that the reason he told Lucas Bergvall to come down the tunnel is because he was suffering abuse from a fan. And just so people haven't seen this, Porro put out an Instagram post on Sunday and said, football is emotions. In football as in life, there can always be mistakes. What I will not tolerate is hearing disrespect from the fan to my teammates, hence my frustration at the end of the game. And we will get up and we will remind you 6 months ago, everything was so bad. And in the end, it is not how it begins, but how it ends. To the true Spurs fan, I love you. Thomas Frank made that reference as well. The true Spurs fans wouldn't be booing Vicario in the moment of making those mistakes. You've had Vicario suggesting he tries his best to blank what is coming from the stands. How are we going to reconnect the fans with the players? Is that purely down to results and overcoming this home form right now, as bad as it is?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the PSG game, I think most people came out of it and thought, okay, well, we lost 5-3, we made some mistakes, but actually we showed some effort and some desire. And I think as fans, that's all you want. You know, the Arsenal game, which we lost, we were if we'd tried and pressed and so on and lost, you can sort of think, okay, well, at least we gave it a good go. I think that's what they want to see. And I think probably there was that expectation against Fulham that we were going to see a bit more of what we saw against PSG. And then all of a sudden, it was an absolute shit show for like 20 minutes in that game, half an hour of that game, where it was, it was absolutely horrendous. And I don't know, you just need to see, they need to get a win. They need to get a lucky win. And they need to just show some effort and desire. I think the bare minimum thing that we all want as fans is if you lose a game, but you give absolutely everything, you can sort of accept it. I do agree with what Porro's saying. Like, again, we saw it. It might have been the game where Ange did the cupping to his ear, and it might have been the Chelsea away game. But Son was getting dogs abuse directly at him, getting like abused.
Yeah. I'm trying to think that might be good. It might be Goodison Park. Forgive me. I mean, Lubo, you might have been there.
Yeah, it could have been.
It might have been Goodison
and
Park
it's like, and I think that might have, and I'm like, does Son, who's been one of the best players we've ever had in recent times, deserve that? And probably Porro is probably trying to protect Bergveld as a young 19, 18-year-old kid. There's booing him and saying, oh, yeah, you're rubbish. But you don't know what people are saying. People go way over the top in the abuse that they give footballers, right? And they're human beings at the end of the day. The abuse that they get, and some of the real abuse that they get, not one of us would accept it if it came at you. And I'm just saying this because I work with footballers, so I see them every day and stuff like that, right? So I see them as normal people. And some of the, one of the players I've worked with, Robert Pires, I absolutely hated him as a player. And he's one of the nicest human beings you could ever, ever, ever meet. And when I see him, I call him the C word every single time. Yeah, I call him a goonasty every time. Yeah, but he's a legend. He's a lovely, lovely guy. But on the pitch, so I know they're human beings. So all I'm saying is, right, if you saw these people in real life, you would never ever say that to their face ever. So there's probably a little bit of a line, and then there's a frustration and so on. And I've said my piece on what I think with Vicario. I have no problem booing fans. I understand people pay their money to do what they want. I just don't see any benefit at all whatsoever of booing your goalkeeper 8 minutes into the game if you want to get back into the game and win it. I just don't see the point.
Before I bring Lubo back in, but where do you stand that for you? The nature of these players coming out and suggesting that they're not tolerating what they're getting from the fans. Where do you stand that? Because again, I hope you don't mind me keep saying this. I feel you've got a real good pulse when it comes to how fans feel. I know you can't speak for everybody. Where's that gauge for you on that point?
Again, I don't really like someone that's probably going to be here for a short part of his career, and a manager that's probably going to be here. We're going to be a part of their career. Talk about what a true Spurs fan is. I think that's more. They don't really have any right to tell anyone what a true Spurs fan is because they don't know. Frank's been here for a few weeks. Porro's been here for a couple of years. Tottenham fans are going to be here long after that. Both of them have gone, and they will be here long before them as well. So I don't really like that rhetoric of true Spurs fan because it's not really down to them to decide, and it won't ever be. So I don't like that. I understand the point about the. I understand the point about not booing Vicario, but I think true Spurs fans are the ones that show up every week and go to the games. That's all there is to it.
Lou, let's bring you in. Just on that point, as I'm having this conversation, it's now being fed through to me that only Burnley have recorded less than 1 XG in a Premier League match more times than Tottenham so far this season. I mean, all these things, Lou, they add to the growing discontent and the frustration around the disconnect between the players and the fans. I mean, is it purely down to Lubo winning? Does winning resolve everything we're discussing here on this show?
Bilbao's a perfect case in point. What a horrendous performance. It doesn't matter.
But no one cared.
Absolutely.
No one cared.
That was the worst performance. I've seen every final since 71. That was the worst by 100 miles. It was just disgusting. Who cares? We won. And if you're going to play a pragmatic game, my personal feeling is that Frank doesn't trust a lot of the players that he's got, that he's inherited, and he's just playing just to make sure he doesn't lose and try and nick some results before he gets to the transfer window.
Luke, can I ask you though, do you think on that point you're saying there, if he is given more funds in the transfer window, better quality players, does Thomas Frank play attacking football at Tottenham? Does he play that for you?
As long as it's measured, then yes, I think Frank will evolve with better players. It's not hard to, it's the players will make it easier for him. If you got quality out there on the pitch, you're not as cautious is probably the right word. You know, you can be more expensive, you can take more risks because you trust the players because they're of a higher quality. I think just going back to what Porro said, I think his turn of phrase is unfortunate. I understand the frustration, but he can't turn around to people and say they're not true fans. These fans are, a lot of them, you know, they're going week in, week out. They're paying big money. They've been following the club for decades, generations. Families have been going for generations. And I think that's a faultless, unfortunate turn of phrase that he's used. And Frank as well. I think Frank doesn't have to talk about true fans. I think he just has to make the point, guys, you want the best for the team.
Yeah.
I want the best for the team.
Yeah.
If a player makes a mistake, they don't do it deliberately, try and lift them. And that's all he had to say.
Is it because heat at the moment though, Lubo? Is it just heat at the moment that he's reacting like that? Because I look at Frank, he's an intelligent guy. I think generally, though, logic would say to me that I would think 9 times out of 10, he would have handled that situation differently. But he was quite spiky in that post-match press conference after Fulham. You know, are there signs there that he's just really feeling the weight of this job? And with all due respect, the week we've got coming up now, it doesn't get any easier. Bringing that Newcastle game in, away to Newcastle, and then home to Brentford. If anything, the job is only going to get harder. It's not going to get easier.
No, he's not been used. Obviously, he's not been used to this type of scrutiny. Yeah, not even every match daily. You know, it's a pressure cooker being a manager for Spurs. Spurs are a big club. They're on a completely different level to Brentford, and he's got to show that he can cope with it.
Yeah, this is. I mean, it gets to that point now, like I say, where you know the Lewis family, they are expected to back the club in the January transfer window. Do you look at these next few months as a critical period for the club in whether, when we use that word backing, and Lubo's been on it before, when we use that word backing can mean many different things in Tottenham's world and profile, right? Because the backing what Arsenal gave Arteta is different, like Lubo said earlier, the backing which Ange has maybe got or previous managers have got. Do you think right now that this next month or so is going to be really crucial in terms of the level of backing Thomas Frank will or won't get in terms of results coming up? Or do you think it's indifferent? They are just going to back him regardless in January, and they'll just try and get to a period where it will stabilise in terms of the results and the performances? Because Newcastle away, as we know, we haven't got a great record up there whatsoever. Brentford at home, you've got a fully motivated Keith Andrews that's going to get one over on his manager, and that home pressure is building and building and building, as you just mentioned about getting a result. Are we already at a point where these next few weeks are massively critical for him personally? Because, you know, we said it earlier, Lubo said, you know, these are customers, they're paying fans. You've seen one home win all season to promote Burnley. You have to surely question that if we're not going to be getting results, how can you give the manager funds? Am I over-dramatising that? Is that fair, Ed? What do you think? We'll get you to unmute if you can, Ed, for us on it.
I mean, you do always over-dramatise as a starting point, Ricky. So, you know.
Well, you've known me for a decade.
That's why you've got such a successful pod, mate. If you were boring, no one would listen, right? No, look, I think there are two things. I think we mentioned the thing before about, you know, did the Lewis family want Frank? You know, they were all there and part of the recruitment of him. You know, Lange, Paratici, Vinay, and you know the two at ENIC. They you know, they were all there and they knew Levy was going, so he wasn't a Levy appointment, it was a Tottenham appointment. I suspect what I don't know is what we don't know. Look, if it gets worse, if it carries on getting worse, he will definitely get sacked, right? If we get pumped to Newcastle, we lose to Brentford, and then we lose a couple of games after that, you know, then I could see the writing will be on the wall. I think, you know, and the football has to get better, you know, because it's been dull as dishwater. It's been so boring. But I suppose we don't know what the agenda was. You know, I know that they've come out and they said they're ambitious and they want to do well and all of those things. But sorry, I'm just reading the comments.
It comes to
sorry, mate. Sorry. Yeah, so I think, you know, I think it depends on what behind the scenes as Vinay, Lange, Paratici and Frank actually believe about the squad? Do they sit there and go, do you know what? This squad is pretty crap, like we're all saying. This squad is actually a mid-table team. Therefore, what we're doing is what we expect at the minute, even though it's dross. Or are they thinking, actually, we should be sixth with this squad, it's good enough, and therefore is this the guy that we want to invest in? That's what we don't know. We've got no idea. They might, because I think Frank said it, he said it maybe last week, or a couple of weeks ago, we finished 17th last season. They might sit there and go, look.
Should he be saying things like that, Ed? I mean, should he
No,
be
no,
saying
I know.
like
No, I don't think, look, I think all of these things get taken out of context. It's a fact we were shit last season and finished 17th. So it's like.
We did also win the Europa League. We did win the Europa League.
Of course we did, but in our minds, I sat on this pod at the beginning of the season thinking we could come 6th to 8th. So maybe we're delusional in thinking that the squad is better than it is. And
no,
maybe
I'm not
no. So what I'm saying is, so maybe as a management team, they said, this team is a mid-table team. We know that. That's what we expect at the minute internally. They won't voice that externally, and then we know we need to build. I don't know what the answer is. If we lose a few more games, we get pumped to Newcastle, pumped to Brentford or whatever, then I think it's going to be really, really difficult because, that atmosphere, if we lose to Brentford at home, I'm sure it'll be brutal.
Lubin made a cracking point at the start of the show. They paid Ange off. They brought Frank in. They brought Cochrane in, to sack the manager. I don't know where you turn to next because with all due respect, I watch Iriola. Iriola's football's absolutely chaotic. It's great to watch, but very similar. They lose.
Well, they were two up at Sunderland and lost. So it's what do you want?
I mean, Glasner. To be fair to Glasner, he's doing well at Palace, but again, Glasner for me is not a attacking branded manager. He's very much kind of tactically structured, very organised, very pragmatic. Poch is going to go to the World Cup. Bill, come over on this point. Where are you, Bill, in this next few weeks? You've said for you at the moment that you're not really feeling Frank. Can you see these next few results being absolutely pivotal in terms of what Frank's future does look like at Tottenham? Because it's a big, big week. I don't think anyone's going to Newcastle thinking we're going to go there and win because our record up there is absolutely atrocious. And again, I mentioned the fact that our home form is being ramped up. The pressure's on every week now or every other week at home because of how bad it is. And we're going to be facing a Brentford team fully motivated, a manager fully motivated in Keith Andrews that is going to do a number on Thomas Frank. How big is this week coming up, Bill, for Tottenham?
It is massive. I think the thing that we spoke about many times on here was the biggest disappointment for me this season has been the derbies again. We've been absolutely woeful in them. I really had sort of hope that Thomas Frank would be the man to turn that around. He had a good record against, those kind of teams in Brentford. He made us competitive and win duels, but the performance against Chelsea and Arsenal, two of the worst I've ever seen Tottenham play. Chelsea at home is one of the worst home games I've ever seen in any era. So that was a real disappointment for me. So now I feel like in these couple of games, I really fear for like Newcastle away. It's not a journey that any Tottenham fan looks forward to. And then Brentford, if we lose both of those, we could be as low as 16th. And then where are we? We've sacked a manager. We're finishing 17th. Let's not forget, Thomas Frank has signed 4 players this summer on over $100,000 a week. And we were all stating it was a pretty decent transfer window. Moani, Kudos, Palhinha, and even though it's a loan, and Xavi Simons, you have to go pretty far back and under ENIC to find a transfer window as good as that. So he's also had that. And then if we're still languishing around in 16th, then it looks like an absolute disaster of an appointment. So they're really, really big. I just think that, and not necessarily always about the performance, I just want to see some identity stamped by this team because, we're getting up to the Christmas period now. Once that comes along, if we're still languishing around in the second half, I think it'll be all the kind of goodwill from many fans. Not that there's much left in the first place, will be lost, and it'll just be another wasted season. And we've had almost every single season in this new stadium has been a wasted season, and fans are just fed up with that now at this point.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? It depends what you've signed up for this season. You've seen us win the Europa League.
Let's not forget, we were told that Ange was sacked because, in literally their own terms, they want to compete on all fronts.
Yes.
Right now, we're not competing on any fronts currently. So, what's happening there?
Yeah, Luba, let's bring you in on that point. As I mentioned, you're home and away. Tuesday night will be the 100th Premier League match since Antonio Conte left Spurs. And credit, I think, to Johnny, forgive me, Johnny Blaine on X. Great fan, Johnny Blaine on X. We've lost 44 of the last 99 compared to 31 of the previous 99. So for those that want a Poch return, like we said earlier, he lost 46 of his 202 penalty matches in charge. I mean, it kind of just shows you really where we're at. We've gone full circle on so many of these managers. Do you agree, Lubo, that this next week is absolutely pivotal for Thomas Frank? Maybe in terms of more performances over results. But, I said Fulham was a must-win. Brentford is, if it's a must, what is Brentford if Fulham was a must-win?
Newcastle away, I think they've won their last 6 at home, haven't they, on the speed?
Yep.
Including
just beating Everton 4-1 away as well, so they've got that away record off their back. They hadn't won away, I think, forgive me, since what? They were winless months away from home, winless for months. But at home, they're very, very strong, like you said.
I mean, I'm not sure if Tonali's back tomorrow because I think Miley played instead yesterday. But if we're facing Tonali, Bruno, and Joe Linton in midfield, we'll get killed. They've got such a powerful midfield. It's one of the best in the Premier League. You've got the 6'6" Watermarder.
Yeah.
Up front, you've got. Look at the supply base. You've got Harvey Barnes. You've got
brilliant at the moment.
Gordon. You've got Alanga. You've got Murphy. I mean, it's.
I'm gonna go and hang myself now. Jesus.
I haven't come to predictions yet. Hold on.
I don't think we need them, do we? Come on.
We've lost 6 of our last 7 games there, including each of the last 4, and we've not since October 2021 avoided a defeat up there. Brentford, Lubo, that's defining, isn't it, for him? Would it be so typical? I mean, could he get sacked after Brentford if it's a really bad Newcastle performance and he doesn't beat Brentford at home?
He could do. Who comes in then?
That's the $1 million question. Because they really wanted to they really wanted Cochrane to come here. So therefore, you can't imagine they're going to want to sack Cochrane. And Cochrane is Thomas Frank's left-hand man. He's been with him everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, that's the really interesting one. Sorry to just jump in there on that, right? Because I actually know him, and I know like quite a few people around him and stuff like that. And he was massively thought after. He couldn't. They debated whether he was going to be the Brentford job. Now the thing is, he's in charge of like a lot of the attacking training and tactics and stuff like that. So he's massively bigged up, right? But our biggest flaw at the minute is attacking. So it's a weird one, isn't it, right? Because he's supposed to be like this incredible coach, brilliant young coach, brilliant great ideas, and dealing with like the attacking side of the game.
Adam, we've scored. We're one of the top 4, 5, 6 clubs in the Premier League in terms of goals. For me, our biggest problem at the moment is we're giving away goals on the edge of our area. There's no marking.
No.
Well, yeah, creating chances is the problem.
But also, just let you come back in, Lubo. Also, Frank has that suggestion that because of the XG, he's happy for you to shoot outside the box. But yet, we just keep conceding long range goals from it. Long range goals on that basis. So, how much do we trust that element to it? What he's saying now?
When he first came to the club, first few weeks, I thought it was really encouraging. The results were good.
Yeah,
we won 3 of the first 4 league games. Went to Brighton, should have won that day. And it looked better. We had a structure. We were disciplined at the back. We were organised, and it just seems to have been. Listen, you're going to concede goals to Arsenal and PSG, but it was the nature of the goals. Vitinho. I mean, look, the first one he scored was an absolute worldie, but nobody's closing him down. The 3 that Eze's walked round. The 2, he's walked round Pellegrini and Bentancur for 1. He's had 3 shots virtually dead central again. Fulham, nobody on the guy that had the shot. So if you don't buy the ticket, you don't go to the party. You got a deflection, balls in the back of the net. We're 1 down in 2 minutes. PSG shots from outside the box. It's happening too often now. In the last week, we've had 6 goals.
Villa as well. Villa again, they're 2 outside the box.
Yeah. So that there's 8. There's 8.
There's 8 alone. There's more. There's been more as well. Yeah.
And the form's gone down since that October window finished. Starting with
at least we're not conceding from corners, lads.
Well, okay, but
Hold on, the Man United game at the end of the bloody game.
But I was looking at the fixtures and I was looking at the results and the performances up to Leeds and the results since.
Yep.
First few games, you've got Romero, Van de Ven, Kudus, and Polinia, who are having a superb season. They're playing well. You're getting 7s, 8s, 9s out of them every single week. Since then, their form hasn't been what it. Mickey's been off a couple of games. Romero's made he's gone back to a few bozo runs out into midfield, and Kudus isn't the same player. Polinia's not the same player. And those four, their form has dropped off. And that correlates with our results as well.
Yep. Well, look, Romero is back available, of course, for the Newcastle game. Whether he's going to opt and keep with Archie Gray and João Polina. Archie Gray and Bergvall is another question. But like I said, it does feel like a big week. Just to, very quickly, guys, I don't want to keep you too long, but to hypothetically answer that question and playing devil advocate, and I'm sorry to do this, if this week does go terribly wrong, which people might say I'm wrong for asking this question, what do the club do? I mean, Bill, if they do get pumped by Newcastle and Brentford turn us over, and you're saying for you at the moment you're not really feeling Thomas Frank, what would you like to see happen?
Well, there's two paths that you could potentially go down, being that January is on the horizon. You're going to sack him, or you're going to say, right, well, in January, we're going to put a lot of money behind him and try and sign a few players that will make a difference. Historically, the club have generally tended to sack the manager. It might be an interesting to see that, okay, we're going to stick with you, but we're going to give you some more help in January. I think, personally, now that Frank and the players are taking on the fans, I think that, as soon as you lose the fans, you're a dead man walking, generally speaking. So I think if we lose the next couple, there's massive infighting between the fans and the board and the manager, the players. It might just be time to go, I'm afraid. So, yeah, I would really fear for him if he loses these two games. Okay,
Ad for you? Oh, go on, Lubin, want to come in there? Or I don't mind. Lubin, want to go in that, and we'll go to Ad next. Go on, Ad. Go on, Lub.
No, I'm the same. I'm the same as Billy. I think if we get a bad result against Newcastle and and lose at home to Brentford, I think it's I think it'll be pretty toxic, that game. I think the problem is Brian Mason's not available, is he? So
he's trying his best to keep his job at West Brom at the moment, isn't he?
I bet you
he might be by then. Yes, he's on a tight rope.
Yeah. I mean, that would be classic. That would be classic Spurs, wouldn't it? Ryan Mason's
could you imagine?
No, but I think I think it is that
Show was not available. Show was not available, is he?
Yeah, that will form part of the thinking, though. They will be sitting there thinking, okay, if that happens, what are because no club just goes, unless you're the Forest owner, maybe no one just goes, right, I'm just sacking you. It doesn't happen.
Unless you're Daniel Levy at Tottenham, it doesn't happen.
Generally there's something or somebody lined up. There's like a bit of a right, we're going to do this, and it's difficult. I don't know, but as I said, if it's bad this week in these two games and we don't get at least one win, I think I think we're in trouble. He's in trouble, as Billy said. Billy made the point. Once the fans get on you, and going into that Brentford game, it's going to be spiky probably from the off.
If we don't score first in that game, God help us.
Yeah,
I tell you.
yeah. I mean, the best thing for everybody is that we score in the opening 10 minutes of that game, right?
But you're going to say the best thing for everybody is that we don't turn up.
Yeah, you're going to sell my tickets. Does anyone want them? Hook me up on Twitter if you want them.
You can't give them away. Honestly, at the moment, you cannot give them away. It's almost like punishment to be sent there at the moment.
Wait, some poor guy bought my tickets Friday night for him and his son. I was like,
he's disowned you.
Yeah,
you'll never work with you.
He's
again.
Not a returning punter.
No, that's it. You've lost that relationship. That's my God. Lubo, this week coming up, what happens if things don't go right? I forgot what right looks like anymore. What happens if things don't go right this week?
Well, do the board come out with a statement and say, the way Ratcliffe did with Amorim and said he's our manager, we're sticking behind him.
Vote of confidence.
Yeah. I think that will be important. If he keeps losing, and we don't get the result we should against Slavia Prague, we lose to Forest and Liverpool. We've then got Palace away. They're all difficult games.
All difficult games.
You know, if we're losing game after game, he'll go. He will go. What would I do personally? I'd head over to the States and say, Maurizio, would you share the job for this season? He's got a handful of friendlies left. That's all he's got. I think he devoted.
The thing is, I mean, also with Maurizio, again, I don't want to keep going. I keep kind of trying to end the show, and we go down like another pathway. The thing with Maurizio is that, you know, they've invested in him. He's invested in that job now there. I mean, at your shaking your head, you can't see a world in which Pochettino gives up the World Cup, can he? He won't give up the World Cup.
It's not even about giving up the World Cup. That's an irrelevant point. He's the USA manager, and the World Cup is in that country in the summer. The optics around it of him in the interim period, whether he's got time, whether he's it's not about compensation. It's not got anything to do with any of that. The optics around that within that country, where you're the host nation, that your manager has just gone to take a short-term job in another country. It's never, ever in a million years happening. Sorry, Luba, I don't mean to like dampen your spirits.
Would you go for him for after the World Cup? Because
I pine for Pochettino. I pine for him.
Because it's like an itch. It's like an itch that's still to be scratched, isn't it?
I agree, and I think it would probably be a mistake. I adore him, and I would love him for all the reasons you said. That it would be all of the sentiment that comes back, and he would make me smile again. We would fuck it up.
He wants to come back, and the fact that Levy's gone, and if the Lewis kids are backing whatever manager there is, then I'd love to see Pochettino back. I really would.
But also, very fair point, Lubo, on that point. Jason says this to me a lot. What does that entice Pochettino to come back, Lubo, and do the exact same job which he did before, which is rebuilding Tottenham again? It's the exact same job, you know, that he took over with. Does that motivate him, do you think?
The painful rebuild from 10 years ago that he said we need.
You know what? Somebody's
5 managers on. It's coming back to do it.
How many managers? But the same. But he got 5th in his first season, didn't he?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I don't see Frank getting 5th this season.
I just feel at the moment, right, and to come back to you on this, Bill, I'm so sorry, we have got to look for the close on this show. The club needs someone, in my opinion, right now, and I have to say this, that I'm not sure Frank's going to be that guy. It's going to have to be someone that unites the fan base. We've come through so many managers that this is the thing they'll be probably thinking right now, isn't it? This week coming up, they're probably thinking, if it does go tits up and the paying customers, and worth also bearing in mind, Vinay stuck through Arteta when it was bad there. 8th, and they stuck with him. Vinay stuck with him there. So that's something you've got to think about as well. What do they do, Bill? In terms of like trying to make an appointment that would appease everyone.
I think you've got to think as well how much weight that Paratici is going to have in this appointment, seeing as he's our head of head of the player side, head of the first team, head of the men's team. There are 2 managers doing very, very well in Serie A at the moment. One of them is unfortunately an Arsenal player in Cesc Fabregas. The other one is a guy called Vincenzo Italiano, who I spoke about before, who's doing an incredible job with Bologna, whose football is out of this world. So those, if we go in Paratici, I think those are 2 managers which he would look at. And then if we get to the World Cup, we've got Pochettino, but also might be available as Nagelsmann at Germany, a manager that we've tried to get before. And I think if you want a name that will seriously unite the fan base, getting someone like Nagelsmann in would do massive wonders for that. That'd be a really ambitious appointment. We're very realistic is another thing. But again, if the Lewis family are on about trying to make us into a proper big club, go for someone like that that's really going to shut up any doubters and really get the fans on side. But I just think it's funny, isn't it, that we're already here talking about new managers.
Crazy.
The season, but
honestly,
that's our football club for you.
Yeah, it's mental. Right, question for you all to close it on. 2-part question. Bill, will Thomas Frank be here come the end of the season? And what are Spurs going to achieve this season in terms of Premier League, FA Cup? I won't ask you to think if we're going to win the Champions League. Or you could.
I don't think he's going to be here. I'll be honest. I think the writing's on the wall at the moment, unless it'll take a serious turnaround from here. Personally, I don't think he's got the personality to do it, so I don't think he'll be here. And then it'll probably just be another classic Tottenham season of middling around somewhere between 8th and 10th. We probably won't even get a decent cup run at this rate. So on to the next project.
God, and we're only in November. Lubo, I feel bad because Lubo looks like he's seen this all, isn't he? Like he's seen, and we're just reliving this through Lubo now.
I think I've got to tell you, I'm so sick of this managerial merry-go-round, this revolving door.
It is ridiculous. Yeah.
And when you look at all the teams that have done well, and yes, of course, managers have got to prove themselves. Otherwise, year one doesn't become year two doesn't become three, and so on. But you look at the managers that have been winning trophies right the way through. From Bill Nicholson was there 16 years. Bring it up to current day, and you've got, Wenger was 21 years, 22 years. Ferguson was 20 odd years.
Yep.
Klopp, 8 years. Pep's into his 10th year. Arteta's into his 6th year.
Yep.
Bringing it right up to date. If managers don't get a chance to build a team, build their squad, we are never going to get there. And so you got a part that's 50% of it, and the other 50% is that if the owners don't show ambition and go and make a statement signing, a massive statement signing, then 15 years of Frank, I doubt that would happen. Then
if we are open, I'm not sure I can continue.
No, absolutely. But I do think, Ricky, that if we can't buy the players that we need, we can't buy quality players until the top 4 teams have got theirs.
Yeah.
And then we're picking up the rest. We are never going to break back into that top echelon. So you've got the owners with the money and the backing, and it's got to be shrewd. It's got to be clever.
Yeah.
We all know how good Semenyo is. They should have gone in with 70 million in July instead of 50 million.
Yeah.
Just use your brain. Go in. We want Semenyo. What do you need?
Yep.
Buy him.
Yep.
If you believe in, buy him. Put the money down. We could have bought him last summer. Now Liverpool and City are in for him.
Yep.
Not a chance.
Yep.
But we got to be clever. So we get those two things sorted. We give a manager time and we back him properly with top players. Then we've got a chance. If not, we're just going to continue being 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th every single year. And this is a big club. We're not an elite club. The elite clubs win plenty of championships, trophies, European Cups, etc. But we are a big club. We got 60,500 last night. The football's been shit. We've won once since August.
In the Premier League.
We got over 60,000 fans. The fan base is superb. They are loyal. And they deserve success.
Yeah. Lubo, very quickly closing that question before I go to Adam. Lube, will Frank finish the season? And what can you see being achieved so far based on what you've seen this season?
I can't see him finishing the season. If he does, I think he's got to finish top 6.
Okay. And based on what you're seeing right now, what do you think we'll end up doing?
Right now, be lucky to be 12th at the moment.
Well, we are 12.
Yeah.
Lubo, thank you so much. For your punishment, you're back with us very, very soon, as is Billy. Adam doesn't know yet, but Adam will be back with us very, very soon. Don't look so sad, Ad. Ad, close us on this point. Based on what you're seeing right now, will Thomas Frank be at the end of the season? And based on what you're seeing, what does the season even look like at the moment?
Look, based on what we're seeing right now, no. But my caveat is just I wonder whether there's a slightly different view at Tottenham now. Levy's not there. Lange and Frank have got history. Vinay doesn't seem like he's a panicker in the way Levy was to chop and change. So it wouldn't surprise me if they stuck it out. If they plodded along and got maybe between 8th and 10th. If it gets worse and the next few weeks go bad, like we mentioned that they might do, then it wouldn't surprise me if he goes. So I'm on the fence. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Feels like it's a massive week in store for Tottenham. Do we do quiet weeks at this football club? Do we do quiet weeks here?
We certainly don't. And then don't forget the transfer window's coming soon.
I know Adam says I'm the one that dramatises it. It's this fucking club, Ad, not me. It's the club. Ad, thank you so much. Our resident financial analyst, who's now become in crisis management as well. Make sure you go and follow Adam. The wonderful Adam, of course, over at Sports Finance on X. Lubo, of course, also over there. Back on the Spurs 5 for you on Monday, Lubes.
We're back on tomorrow night. You talk about punishment. I'm up at Newcastle on Tuesday.
God. Voluntarily, by the way. You're not being forced up there, are you?
No, I'm not being forced up there.
Yeah. Blink twice, you're being kidnapped. Honestly, I tell you, it's going to be an interesting week. Bill, thank you so much. Hang in there, Bill. Hang in there. I can't, honestly, generally, to close it on this point, I can't believe we are end of November going into December and we're all having these conversations. I know how do you think I'm over the top? I am over the top and dramatic, but even I didn't think this was top. Well, it is Tottenham. It is Tottenham. It's mad. How do you do it, Lubo? Is being asked. How do you do it? He's Tottenham. He's mad. He's like all of us. Mad on him. Mad on him.
I don't know. I'm obviously something wrong up there. I can do. Do you know what it is? I always say, my son said to me when he was very young, Dad, what's it like being a Spurs fan? I said, it's character building, son. Yep.
My dad told me the same. Yep. And it still doesn't change, does it? It still doesn't change. Bill, thank you so much. Ads, thank you so much. Lubo, thank you so much. Well, listen, guys, you've heard from some of the top guys out there. Tough. Well, I say, hopefully it's not a tough week coming up. Interesting week coming up. Strap in. We're going to need to be strong with it. And let's hope everybody sticks together and we make it through the other side. What that looks like from Bill, from Lubo, from me, from Ads. We've been the last one on Spurs. Keep safe, keep well. And as always, come on, you Spurs, please.